and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to introduce our next guest. She is part of the awesome group, Fred Hampton Leftists. She's someone who speaks truth to power. She's also been very vocal about a lot of key issues, such as the student loan crisis, Amazon strikes, the eviction crisis, and we're going to be talking to her about that as well. So joining us here, last day here at the old studio, awesome guest with Fred Hampton Leftists. Afeni, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to our final day here at the show, at the studio.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Well, Daniel was dealing with Comcast and AT&T, and
hey, Comcast, if you had just not done that thing, you would have gotten money, and I would have not switched to AT&T.
Right, and already we're getting in the chat. Everyone's saying that they love Comrade Afeni, love her so much. We're getting a lot of people. Fire with Afeni, fire with Afeni. So you know what? I want to just start things off with something that I saw you post on social media, and that you're working with a lot of other fellow activists and community organizers. And let's talk about this: the Amazon strikes that are happening, or that are in the process of happening, or we've seen them happen in 2020. We've seen some things happen even earlier than 2020, but now there's a lot of groundwork and movement to really calling out Amazon for its deplorable behavior, for what its truck drivers wearing adult diapers and its workers working in contaminated areas. So I think for our viewers, let's start from the beginning, this process of doing these Amazon strikes. Can you please inform us, enlighten us about what is happening?
So, I mean, I really, really wish I'd been to an Amazon strike in person, but I have not. But I do a lot of research around them, and I will be talking to Chris Smalls on my show on Saturday about the Amazon labor union. But, you know, just in general, Amazon is a terrible company that has absorbed so many different businesses, has refused to pay its workers a fair wage, while the richest man in the world is sending himself for a vanity ride all around the world, spending millions of dollars a minute while people starve in the richest country in the world. So organizing around these big corporations, organizing to basically take them down and to really show them that the labor force, we are the ones that are making, that are producing, you know, most of your profit. And if we are not being productive, then you do not have profits. So what I really like about what's happening with the Amazon strike is showing that the people are the power, and especially workers taking their power back, being empowered to actually stand up to their employers that have mistreated them and honestly treated them like animals, like they are enslaved people. And they are very much not. So if this company can make, I don't know, however many $1 billion it made last year because of the pandemic and because of, you know, just in general, so many people not being able to make it out to stores not actually being stocked with certain supplies. All of this money that they made off of the backs of their workers that made all this happen literally went into space. It is not going into our healthcare. It's not going into a better system of education for us. All of this money is going into a project for a billionaire who has way too much money anyway.
One thing I've always brought up on the show is Amazon fulfillment centers specifically, which are kind of this linchpin of the entire process, run on razor-thin margins of like 1 or 2%. So if you're able to just shut the assembly line down for just 30 minutes, they lose their profit for the day. So there are a lot more, like, you know, we've seen, like, you know, a worker, like the, you know, creation of unions for the most part 100 years ago, when this very same system we're dealing with today was playing out before. And you had, you know, people shutting down the workplace for weeks and weeks so the owner feels a pinch. Amazon always feels like a much easier place to shut down because you have to do a lot less. And as long as you're able to do it consistently, like we always would joke that if hypothetically on one of the off ramps leading to a fulfillment center, if just a truck broke down, that stuff happens on the on ramp and no one could pass through, they don't have a profitable day, and that would just suck for them.
Absolutely. Escalating actions. We have to be creative. Like, we got to get more creative.
And the thing is, too, you know, and maybe you could explain a little bit more about this. The thing is, in the United States, There's a decline. There's decline. There's absolutely no industry. A lot of communities, large cities, especially in areas that are struggling economically, especially Black and brown communities, like these Amazon fulfillment centers are the only gig in town. And it's like, when people, or let's say critics of holding Amazon accountable, say, well, go somewhere else. For a lot of people, that's not the only option. So in theory, Amazon could, in theory, actually take care of its workers and not treat them like crap. But I think maybe if we hear from you, like from this perspective of, we hear these critics saying, well, they're the only gig in town. I think it's important that we really shine a light on just what's been happening for decades. It's been going unnoticed. Well, not going unnoticed, but corporate media has chosen to ignore, our politicians have chosen to ignore the fact that a lot of communities across the country, there's no jobs at all. And these fulfillment centers are the only thing in town.
Yeah, that's because Amazon has systematically dismantled small businesses. They've systematically dismantled big businesses. They've just systematically dismantled any competition that was standing in Amazon's way. They took that down. Now they're moving into grocery stores. They took out so many local bookstores. Toys R Us.
Rest in peace. Oh, my childhood.
Rest in peace to Toys R Us. My childhood is gone because Amazon and Jeff Bezos want to be monopolizing monsters. And that's what it really is. And we need to call it what it is. It's a monopoly. He is literally absorbing businesses, absorbing markets, and absorbing, trademarks, really, that he really, at the end of the day, could have just stayed out of because he already had money. He comes from a family with money. So it's just... the greed is so unreal of capitalists, especially of the people that are on the top of our system. To know that this one man could probably end world hunger in one day, and he just refuses to every day. To know you have the power to do that. To know you have the power to invest in high-speed rail in America and not bat a freaking eye.
I have to say, again, I bring this up on the show, and I'm sorry, folks, if I'm repeating myself, but when I was in Japan, I was with my relatives, and we were taking the bullet train. I believe we were going to Hiroshima or Kyoto, and he remarks to me, they're taking this down because this train is now out of date. They're going to make a faster train. I'm like, they're going to make a faster train? Oh, this thing's out of date? Because this thing looks like the future right here, and that thing was apparently to the Japanese government and to local prefectures that have that rail line. It was like, no, we got to update it. We got to make something faster, more efficient, more better. I'm like, oh wow, great. So what can we get that in the United States? Because when I flew back, I'm taking the Blue Line CTA back home, and it's like, what a downgrade. Yeah. It's go ahead, Dan.
And then it's like, Jeff Bezos, if he only had one of the most advanced logistical distribution centers, he could solve world hunger, but, doesn't have that.
Yeah.
If he only had the power, especially the employee power, the manpower, to deliver food for free to every American household.
Yeah.
For probably a year. The fact that he has that and still pay his workers probably more than they're getting paid right now.
Wow.
And probably still have billions and billions of dollars left over. We can't even quantify in our minds how much money. I think it's $123 billion now. How are you going to spend $123 billion in net worth? And of course, net worth is wrapped up in assets and properties and all this other things. So it's not exactly liquidity. But to have that much value, that is unfathomable. And this is the same, these are the same amount of money that you see from countries' governments, whole country GDPs. You're telling me that we can't afford to give people health care, but we can afford to give this man subsidies and contracts? Yeah. We can give him tax breaks? Are you joking? Please.
Yeah, I know. Real quick, I want to acknowledge someone before we move on to our next segment, because it's related to what Bezos has done. Shout out to William, Streamlabs Super Chat, $2. Pour one out for Jeffrey the Giraffe. Yeah, Jeffrey, I'll always be a Toys R Us kid. I'll miss you, buddy. I'll miss you. But let's go ahead and now focus on another issue that's very important. And you've been talking about this, especially with Fred Hampton Left. That is this eviction crisis. We talked this over with Compton J as well. Look, the Supreme Court really kind of took the rug underneath the Democratic lawmakers that they did that little celebration and dance. Shout out to Frank Analysis, who caught that video, saying what happens next. and they just cut him off and started playing music for a celebration that wasn't even really a victory at all. This eviction crisis is going to predominantly affect a lot of working class communities, small communities, and especially in urban areas.
10% of the country.
Yeah, so possibly 30 to 40 million Americans at risk of being kicked out of their homes, especially predominantly black and brown communities. We want to get your thoughts on this eviction crisis. I know you've been covering it a lot as well as your colleagues from Fred Hampton Leftists. Your thoughts on this situation that's happening in the richest country in the world, where housing is not a human right, apparently.
You know, it just makes me think like, damn, we spent $300 million per day in Afghanistan. It takes a sustainable housing for every American, about $20 billion investment, a one-time investment, you know, and you have like your maintenance costs, property, and all that stuff. You know, you have all that. But they could literally end the homelessness crisis in a day, because there are 100,000, there are like 500,000 or so, 600,000 or so unhouseable currently, and 17 million vacant homes. Mm-hmm. They could, I don't know, offer some financial assistance, offer rent cancellation, offer mortgage cancellation. They could try that. They could try that. And even when I was on the ground with AOC, with Corey, with all of them, I asked them, I said, why is the ask an eviction moratorium when people are still going to be in debt, they're still going to owe that money, and the conversation on the ground already was, if the Biden administration does this through executive order, then the courts are going to overturn it. That was already the conversation on the ground that weekend. So people knew this was coming. They knew this was coming. So the fact that y'all didn't do what I said to do, which was do a national tent city, make sure that you have tents at every single state capital of all these fucking Democrats that went home on vacation, that they say they care so much about their working class constituents, while their people are sleeping outside right now. So are you going to come back? That could have been the path forward. But instead, the path forward was take Biden's first offer that we knew was going to get shot down in the courts and still put millions of people at risk of being evicted. People are already getting evicted. This was a targeted eviction moratorium on top of that. So you're compounding it with the fact that it didn't even really cover everyone to begin with. So people were evicted even after Biden put out that milquetoast ass statement. People were still getting evicted. Eviction notices were still getting filed in Atlanta. 80,000 that weekend that we were sitting out on those stairs. And Atlanta was not covered by the eviction moratorium extension. Wow. So what exactly are we talking about here? What exactly are we talking about here? And then when people ask the people that are public servants to us, the people that we pay $183,000 a year with and pay for their health care and everything else. When people ask them, hey, like, this isn't good enough because people are still getting evicted. This is a public health crisis because people are going to get COVID and die. Crime is going to go up. Violence is going to go up because when you what is going to happen? People are going to be starving. Resources, it's going to be hard for them to get resources. So what do you think is going to happen? Crime is a socioeconomic problem. We are literally forcing millions of people into poverty right now because when you lose your shelter, you lose everything. Yeah. You lose everything.
Exactly. And the thing is, too, even before this eviction crisis, before COVID-19, we talked about this on the show, one bad day, and if you get stuck with medical debt, you're at risk of, again, facing homelessness. And one of the leading causes of homelessness was medical debt. Yeah. And
it's like at every step of this entire process that we're talking about, there's an easy fix. So here's a really quick, easy one for ending homelessness if you still want to go down the private-public partnership route, which the government really loves. Most of the places that are vacant are owned by banks. Just pay the people that are homeless to watch over, guard, maintain those houses, because we know when houses are left abandoned for a long period of time, they fall apart. It'd be good to have someone in there maintaining it. That's a jobs program. That's money that the banks would be able to be paid, which of course Biden is ecstatic over, and you solve homelessness. It's a really easy, basic thing, and that's just picking a very neoliberal solution to the problem. You could fix this entire thing. There's so many things we could do, and there's always something that we could do. And the other thing on it that I always bring up again, it's like I think everyone here that watches this show is already convinced beyond a doubt that we need to do this and make some action. But another thing is that an average person that's homeless costs the taxpayers $70,000 a year. and that's ambulances, hospital, police, whatever, be out there. If you put someone in a house that you either make housing for them or you pay them to inhabit those houses that are currently vacant, you take someone who's costing the system and you make them someone that's part of it. So even if we just have to argue on just the self-evident greed of the current system, it doesn't make any sense to operate the way we do. It doesn't make any sense for AOC to be throwing parties that she extended a moratorium and
that little dance.
But what all she really did is extend and expand the debt people are in and kick them out further towards winter.
Yeah. At a height of pandemic, too. But another thing, too, that we need to talk about, because, again, you mentioned that people are losing everything because, again, there's a lack of jobs. And I know everyone's saying that people are hiring, but the sad fact is that some people can't, like, it's almost impossible for them to get to and from work because they don't have the money for the bus or the train or for a car or anything else of that matter because, again, people are in medical debt or some other form of debt. But another thing, too, that you've talked about in Fred Hampton Leftist, as well as all of your other colleagues as well, and that is the student loan crisis. Now, again, I want to remind everyone that the Biden administration has the power, in theory, technically, actually, they do have the power to, or he has the power to get rid of student debt like that, just like that. But he's not. So I want to get your perspective, especially how it's been impacting a lot of working class communities in the United States, but it's a student loan crisis that, again, at one point in America, college was affordable.
No, it's not.
And the rest of the world still has affordable college.
So what's your take on that?
Yeah, let's get your take on it.
Yeah, so, Black women hold the most student loan debt of any demographic group in America. So when you couple that with the racial wealth gap from, housing discrimination, financial institutional racism, all the different ways that you want to bring that up, you see that, Black people on average have a average median household income of $24,000 a year. So canceling student loan debt would go a very long way to starting to close the racial wealth gap. But they don't want to do that. And then on top of that, you also have all of the working class people that simply cannot afford to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars plus interest rates, plus whatever other fees or whatever other taxes they try to tack onto it. And then if you're Black, you're paying a higher interest rate on those loans. So it's like, we can cancel student loan debt. We could have canceled student loan debt with some of the money that we spent, I don't know, on the Afghanistan war. We could have canceled some student loan debt with that. We could have canceled student loan debt with all of the bank bailouts that we gave over the past couple of years. We could have probably canceled student loan debt with that. All of the millions and billions and trillions of dollars that we can pull out of our ass for the Federal Reserve, from the Federal Reserve to give to these corporations and these people that are already rich, we can pull that same money out of nowhere to give to the American people. But the problem is that this administration, this Congress, our Supreme Court, they're not worried about average Americans. They're not worried about making sure that our lives are materially better through the taxes that we pay to this government. Because you're telling me right now that my tax dollars can pay for bombing other countries, giving $3 billion to Israel on a whim. But my tax dollars can't go to making my life better in my country. We have 46,000 bridges in this country that are structurally unsound as well. My money can't pay for that. So, the priorities are fucked up. So that's the reason why, for me, we need to start doing more economic strikes. That's my thinking about this. Do not pay your student loans. Do not pay that shit. No one pay it. When that moratorium ends in January, do not pay it, because you know what else just is about to happen? They're about to end the unemployment benefits. People are strapped for cash. People are getting evicted from their homes. People can't even have their children stay in school right now. Real shit is happening, and we still have COVID. And people are still dying from COVID. So the little crumb, really, of canceling student loan debt should be a fucking layup for this government. But it's not, because they do not prioritize our well-being. Period.
Absolutely. And I want to add this too. You know, since this is our last day here, the commute to the studio, I've been seeing it get worse. Homeless shelters and tent cities underneath the bridges and the viaducts. I'm seeing small businesses boarded up. You know, recently an activist and good friend of the show, who's also on our other show, Chicago Corner, Jamal Green, did a small protest on an abandoned school building. And the response to him by the city of Chicago, by Mayor Lori Lightfoot,
who really doesn't like him,
was send 50 Chicago police officers and I believe 1 or 2 helicopters there. And then afterwards, when they took them down from the roof, they decided to put security lights in everywhere on this abandoned school building. Now, again, to be fair, just an update to that story. The city is talking about putting in resources now to make that in community center, with Jamal Green leading the way on that. But I mean, again, one person, one activist, one organizer, one former mayoral candidate, Jamal Green, sitting on top of the roof of an abandoned school building. What was the response by the city? 50 police officers. Talk about overkill. But I think it's also important, too, that we do switch topics here real quick, because we were talking in private chat about you working on some certain projects, and I want to give you a chance to promote them while we still have some time while we still have time for you on air. So some of the things that you're working on, some of these events that are coming up, please, the floor is yours. I think it's very important that people know what is happening.
Yeah, so I am a part of a grassroots organization called Freedom Fighters DC. We do direct aid and mutual aid all around DC. DC has the highest homeless rate per capita, and we also have a rapid rate of gentrification. So a lot of those people are Black people. So we are serving our Black unhoused neighbors. We are serving our underprivileged or underhoused neighbors. We are giving furniture to some of our neighbors that are out here. We are also starting youth ambassador programs with the DC public schools. So we're going to start doing public education with young Black people, and really just young people in general, just around like empowerment, realizing the power that they have as a constituency, but just as a person outside of capitalism, giving them a real, like, an in-depth history on like Black history in this country. Because, you know, I am a Black radical communist. I do follow Black radical tradition, and so does my organization. So, you know, those are some of the programs that we have coming up. So please donate to my grassroots org. Please follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram is @FreedomFightersDC, all one word. And also, I will be at the End the Damn Wars protest on September 11th out here in DC. So please come out here for that. Hold on, I have to find the flyer. And while I find the flyer for that, I also like to just bring light to the fact that we are protesting on, like, just kind of ongoing in DC, because the DC police shot a Black man through his window, through his car window while he was asleep last week. So justice for Antoine. Please follow that hashtag because we will be protesting. Those protests are kind of like a little more organic and sporadic. So just keep an eye out for that. But we need real accountability. We pay $543 million here for our Metropolitan Police Department, and there are 40 plus police departments in DC in this 10 mile radius. Wow. My bad. Wow. So this we are only spending $543 million on one, and we are being over policed. And we, as a result of that, this Black man, yet another Black man, has been killed by MPD. So please keep an eye out for that. Justice for Antoine is the hashtag. It's gone viral a couple of times, and a couple of posts have. And if you want to follow the story, follow me on Twitter @RedIsAri, red with 2 D's, IS is ARI.
All right, fantastic. Real quick, I think before we do end this segment, I do want to acknowledge some YouTube super chats.
Yeah, let's go through them.
Some of them, especially on Rock Fantasy, some of them might be directed to you. Some of them might be some questions. Shout out to Mogi. I hope I said your name correct. $5 with a laughing emoji. So I think that was earlier when we started doing the interview. I think that was my intro. Also, shout out to Buttercup Taylor, $10. What Bezos did was already done by the Air Force in 1956 accidentally. Oh, you're talking about flying into the air or something like that?
Is that the Berlin airlift? I don't know. I'm curious now what exact what
yes.
he's referencing. Right?
So Buttercup Taylor kind of let us know. I mean, if that was, I mean, Bezos didn't even go to space.
He didn't.
He
hit the atmosphere.
Just the tip, and
all
that doesn't really
right,
count.
you had to
Let's
go
be
there.
real.
You had to go there.
Well, he
family friendly,
no,
Daniel. This is a family friendly show.
He didn't have to go there. He tried to went there.
Oh, yeah, there we go. There we go. All right. That's it for YouTube Super Chats.
Let's
go ahead. Odyssey.
We got an Odyssey.
All right, so shout out to good friend of the show, Gallic AJ, 2 library tokens. Afeni is absolutely on point. If the government officials were ethical, they would be providing resources to the very people who are at risk, not spit in their faces while helping their donors out. And remember, AOC and Cory Bush were not in the chamber when Nancy Pelosi decided to end assembly. They had to run. If they were going to bring the ruckus, they should have been there.
It's amazing. Someone pointed out, it's like the Democrats are always, we almost solved poverty. We almost solved homelessness.
So close to giving you your human rights. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Maybe next time we can give you your humanity.
But vote more Democrats. Vote more Democrats. Vote more Democrats.
You know what? I'm going to almost vote for a Democrat.
Well, I made this clear, so I guess I'm going to be the bad guy. 2022 and in 2024. Guess what? Team Red and Team Blue voters, I'm voting third party because between a crap sandwich and a crap salad, I'm going to walk away because you're giving me crap.
Yeah, it's
like a smart person would be like, no.
The Democratic and Republican Party are Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola trying to convince diabetics to drink their brand.
Yeah. There we go.
And so we got some stuff on Rockfin. Let's pull this up.
Rockfin. Let's see what's going on Rockfin. Roger Meadows, again, great resource. Good friend of the show. Roger, I'm seeing all your messages. Just give us a minute. We're working on a lot of stuff at the studio.
Yeah.
Roger Meadows, tip $2. Remember, people, whenever they say we can't nation build here, please remind them, well, you were getting ready and we're in the process of doing it in the Middle East. So what was that feces you were trying to throw at me that we can't do it? Hey, also, I was on a private Zoom meeting with India Walton yesterday. I wish she was finishing up her second term so we'd have someone to run for governor next year. I think that's right. Also, Roger Meadows, tip $2. Afeni, the best way to get outside capitalism is start a ballot initiative to charter a public bank and join the U.S. Federation of Worker Co-ops. And Roger Meadows also tipped $2 on Rockfin. Vote down ballot. There we go.
Yeah, Roger has been a real asset on stuff happening in New York. And,
and also nationwide about state ballot initiatives. Vote local level. Find out who your state lawmakers are, be it the House representatives, state senators, your city council members, and county elected officials. Find out who they are, know your rights, and also if you're going to support third parties, find out what the rules and regulations are for your state because each state's going to be different. Some states are more draconian, some are more light towards third parties, but nonetheless, I think more people need to step up and fight for that better future. And we need more independent journalists like Afeni, like the people at Fred Hampton Leftists, like everyone else. So real quick, final question for our viewers. Afeni, if there's any other, you mentioned your Twitter, but is there any other social media link where people can find you online if they can help you out or follow you?
All my tags are the same. At Red Azari, Red with 2 Ds Azari, even on Cash App. If you're white and you learn something, cash at me.
All right, there we go. It's been a real pleasure having you on. Give it up for Afeni, everyone. I'm seeing we got 220 people. Let's give some thumbs up, fireworks, fireballs, awesome emojis for Afeni. She is our last guest in our old studio, and what a great way to close it up.
Is there much studio left? I mean, if you look, you guys can't see on screen, people. You look over there, it's like 10 things left. Everything's in the new space.
Yeah, it's all gone. So.
And I can say now, we won't be live tomorrow. The internet's taking longer to set up than we anticipated. Kit's going to do some live streams, so he'll still be there.
Yeah, I'll be there, the old studio.
Guys, you'll just have to enjoy Kit on his own for a couple days. I'm sorry.
There we go. So everyone give a thumbs up for Afeni. Again, awesome work that she does with Fred Hampton Leftists. Really, it was great having you on. Nonetheless, take good care of yourself, and we're going to be closing this interview up. But again, everyone be sure to check out Fred Hampton Leftists. They're citizen journalists, and I think we need more citizen journalists like them all across this country to fight for that better future. Take care, Afeni.
Thank you.